Vice President of Marketing at eFolder and your host for today's event. Welcome to the eFolder Expert Series. This webinar series brings together experts from eFolder's staff and partner community for deep dive technical discussions on key service and technical topics. Today's presentation is setting up file level backup in 10 minutes. Today we are joined by Dave Stufflebeam, Senior Manager of Sales Engineering at eFolder. Before we go through the agenda, let's cover a few housekeeping items. Today's session is being recorded. The recorded version of the webinar will be made available on eFolder's YouTube channel. We will also make copies of the slides available to those who registered for the event. With over 206 people registered for today's session, we've put all participants in listen-only mode. You can enjoy the audio portion of today's event by either streaming it on your computer or by dialing in over the phone. Questions are strongly encouraged throughout today's discussion. We have planned a special Q&A section at the end of today's discussion, but you may submit the questions as we go along, and we'll try to address your questions on the fly. Today's presentation follows a logical flow. First, we will discuss what challenges clients and partners face in regards to cloud backup. We will then introduce eFolder Backup, a business-class cloud backup service that provides file-level backup for servers and critical workstations. Next, Dave will show us how you can deploy file-level backup to clients in just 10 minutes. Finally, we'll have set aside time to cover pricing and answer questions, any remaining questions. Next, let me introduce Dave Stufflebeam. Dave Stufflebeam is Senior Manager of Sales Engineering at eFolder. He brings over 20 years of technical expertise to the channel team and is involved in technical consulting and partner support for the entire range of eFolder's solutions. Working for companies like Macromedia, now Adobe, Corel, Novell, and StorageCraft prior to coming to eFolder, he has gained extensive and diverse technical knowledge with vast experience in cloud technologies. Dave has presented to and performed technical trainings at companies like Walt Disney World, Pfizer, Procter & Gamble, Boeing, Walmart, and many more. Dave, thanks for joining us and welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Okay. So what we're going to do first is just go through a little bit of high-level information introducing eFolder Backup and talk about some of the different client and partner challenges that are out there today. And for most everybody on the line today, either whether you're somebody considering doing business with eFolder or you're an existing partner, much of this is not news to you. When we're just looking at client challenges today, we know that there's a ton of legacy backup technology still out there deployed that needs to be upgraded. Client budgets need to come in line with reality, and because the needs are there, more and more critical data is getting highly distributed in organizations and needs to be protected wherever it resides, whether it's on a critical workstation, on a server, or even on a key employee's laptop computer. There's a whole range of different challenges and disasters that can occur. We kind of break them into everyday disasters, which usually involves some sort of hardware failure, user error, or even a crypto locker type software attack that might occur, malware attack that might occur on a machine. But natural disasters are real as well, and they, no matter where you are located in the world, there is invariably a disaster that may touch you or your clients. That might be a natural disaster or a fire or flood of some kind, which can destroy critical client data and imperil people's businesses. From a partner perspective, you've got a couple different key challenges. Of course, the first one is to protect the data of your clients, right? That's what they pay you for. You need to make sure their data is protected at all times, is resilient, and is free from any kind of danger of being lost. There's also business challenges. There's a whole range of different vendors out there that are trying to meet some of the challenges I talked about a moment ago, and a lot of them sell directly to the end user market. And eFolder does not do that. We work with partners. We have 2,300 managed service providers and VARs throughout the U.S., Canada, and Europe, where we do business today. And we're here to help you compete against these direct vendors and to drive a range of different backup and disaster recovery and file sync solutions that allow you to be extremely profitable and to make these solutions some of the most profitable solutions you offer. So that's kind of the overall context. I'm going to be turning this over to Dave here momentarily, but just to give you an overview of eFolder backup for files. This is eFolder's oldest and one of our biggest service offerings, and we supply it to MSPs so that you can go out there and protect the data on behalf of your clients. And we call this a business-grade backup and disaster recovery service because it has a range of different features that are essential for business users. First of all, we're talking here about scheduled backups. Scheduled backups are important because business users need to be able to remotely monitor and manage and report on backup jobs. You've got to know, did the backup job occur at the time it was desired to occur, and if it did not, I've got to take action. And MSPs want to, of course, deploy backup to all of their clients, and so the solution has to be scalable and manageable. So scheduled backups are critical. Open file backup is another key differentiator of this product. There's many different business applications and databases that never close because they're used in the business throughout the day or continuously, rather. And so you need to be able to back up the data even if the application is opened. In another way, though the main use case for eFolder backup is to back up to the cloud, you also want to be able to back up locally in many cases because you want rapid recovery. If there ever is a hardware failure or some corruption locally, you want to be able to quickly recover the data locally. But if a worst-case disastrous sort of thing happens, you can recover that data from the cloud. You can either download it, you can have eFolder ship it to you on disk, or you can even restore data, even file-level data, to the eFolder Continuity Cloud, which is an on-demand cloud computing resource available to eFolder partners. In certain circumstances, that might be a good option in terms of recovery, even for file-level data. So I've kind of covered most of these points here, but what do we mean by business class? It's got to be scheduled. It's got to have open file backup. It's got to have rich versioning and retention capabilities to allow you to roll back to known good states if ever there's a corruption of data. You've got to be able to support local backups, and both backing up locally and backing up networked drives locally. And you've got to have rich recovery options so that you can meet your mission with your clients. Just a couple views of the user interface. This is the eFolder Backup Manager, which Dave's going to go through in detail here in a moment. But it gives you, all the features to configure the solution, monitor the solution, and properly configure it for your clients. Just a couple other things about eFolder. We have over 22 petabytes of data in our cloud today, and we thousands of partners and thousands of client organizations entrust their data to eFolder. So all of your data is safely encrypted in our cloud environment. We have 100% uptime SLA for our partners and have demonstrated 5 nines reliability with our cloud infrastructure. And we implement in the data center something we call silent data corruption prevention, which is a proactive technology to create redundant copies of data that gets backed up to us, and then proactively, when and if data is ever corrupted, which it will happen when you're operating at 22 petabytes of data, data will get corrupted, but we have a proactive technology to go in and repair that data because we keep 3 additional copies of every byte that comes into the data center. So that's what we call silent data corruption prevention, and it's a piece of technology that's proprietary to eFolder and something that is unique and not available to many of our competitors or partners that are trying to maybe do this sort of thing on their own at a smaller scale. Last but not least, another key set of functionality in eFolder Backup is it's a channel-ready product. By design, it's multi-tenant, which is designed for scalable deployment by MSPs. So you have, you can organize a client's deployment by client A, client B, client C, and under each client, different machines, and logically organize things and set policies appropriately. Monitoring, as Dave will show you, is very easy from a single pane of glass, if you will. And the eFolder portal integrates with common PSA systems so that you're able to actually do ticketing and billing integrated with platforms like ConnectWise or Autotask. And last but not least, we let you put your own name on the solution so that you can build brand identity with your clients and drive higher levels of value and profitability from the client relationships you have out there. So to summarize, eFolder Backup, it's a business class, highly reliable and channel-ready solution. And what I want to do now is turn the floor over to Dave, and he will take you through a live demo and show you how to properly configure this solution. Dave, you should have controls.
Yep, I am sharing my screen. Let me know if you're seeing that, Ted.
I do.
Awesome, fantastic. Great, so the first thing, I'm going to kind of go through this fast because we want to stick to the 10 minutes, but I'm going to be logging into a branded portal. This is what Ted was just talking about, being white labeled. If you're not already a partner, you will sign up with us and go through a branding process where we'll put your company logos and colors and everything here. So I'm logging in as a true eFolder partner here. So give me 1 second. Once we get logged in, the first place I'll head to is the Account Center in the web portal. The Account Center is the centric place where I can kind of get an idea of which accounts are happy and which accounts are in red. Some more are in red than are happy simply because they're on my machine. I've been traveling on the road and everything, so they're not backing up. But green is good, red is bad. There's something happening here. Maybe there has been a backup for a day or two, and we need to dig into that. And yellow is maybe a minor error that needs attention. And the light bluish gray, depending on your screen color there, is an account that's never had a backup. So a couple of other things here really quick before I set up the account is under Dash Panel, and this ties into what Ted was saying about monitoring and reporting. I can launch the Dash Panel report here, and from here I can see all of my accounts and see, organized by status, what's happening, and then jump right into error logs and everything to see what might be going on. This one's backing up one of a Shadow Protect installation. I happen to know that this machine is down and has been down for like 6 months, but I like to show the error messages here to give you an idea of some of the things that you see in our web portal. And it's this kind of ticketing information, whether it's healthy or bad type of reporting, that rolls over into the integration setups that we have with Autotask and ConnectWise, and we have some ones with other ones like Continuum as well. So let's get started creating an account really quick. I'm going to enter in. I've just signed up a brand new customer. So first off, I need to get the customer record into the web portal so I can then create an account for them. Now, these accounts that you see here, I always try to tell people to think of them as machine accounts, not people accounts. As a partner, you will have people accounts. My Advise Tech one is the user I logged in with. I have a security role. I'm kind of like super user admin here. I have full rights and privileges in this portal, but the rest of these are actual machine accounts. And the web portal is going to be expecting backups from them. And when backups don't occur, then you're being notified, or the PSA system is being, a ticket being created or what have you. So let's go ahead and add a new customer into there, into the customer record here. So I can enter a new account for a new customer or a sub-account for an existing customer. So if I'm just adding maybe another machine that's going to be backing up, or maybe I've sold a customer a new service. Maybe they were doing our file and folder backup, and now they want to deploy a Shadow Protect solution with a BDR. So I would do a new a parent account. We have trainings and everything that dive through the web portal and how to manage accounts, and I don't have enough time to go into that, but we can definitely get you trained up. So the company I signed up was Curtis Industries, and it's my friend Rain. His email address is, unfortunately, you have to watch me fill all this out really quick. There really is a road in Fiddlesticks called Cedar Hills, Utah, because I live on it, so it's easy for me to put that in. Okay, so anything with a star is actually required. Let me set the correct time zone, however, because he is actually in Mountain Time Zone. I can choose to put the phone number here as well. One of the things to note as a partner, you may not want notifications from the web portal going to your customer, or you may want it going to your customer and you. So you can separate by semicolons here and put your customer's email address in, your support email address in, what have you, or just leave your customer out altogether so they don't get notified and you can fix it before they know anything was wrong. So let me click Next. Now the next thing we're going to do, this is step 3 of getting a customer into the system, is to select which file and folder account or which file and folder service plan I want to sign them up for. We have 2 service plans. One is called Select, and the other one is called Basic. These are our file and folder. Now, we do have BDR offerings, backup and disaster recovery solutions for Acronis, and also we have a cloud destination for Aperture, and also we have a Shadow Protect solution, our own line of Shadow Protect BDRs. So that's why we see other service plans. And to note, you can also let a customer try before they buy as well at no cost to you. I believe we allow up to close to 1 terabyte of trial space data, and trials can run up to 60 days. You can run them for 2 weeks if you want to. But since I've sold this Rain here, we're going to go ahead and just sign him up permanently. So the 2 file and folder plans are Select and Basic. Select is the premier of the 2. This is what you're going to use on your servers to back up your open file technologies like Exchange and SQL, and anything that's kind of VSS aware. This will back that up and prep that for a good, solid, clean, efficient backup. Plus, we allow unlimited versioning controls. So if you wanted to keep, you're backing up an Exchange database 10 times a day, and you want to keep a year's worth of, 10 times a day backups, you can do that with Select. Basic will back up regular open files like your Word docs, Excel spreadsheets, QuickBook files, and your open PSTs and Outlook files and different things like that. But it will not work with server technologies like Exchange and SQL, and it will only keep about 30 days worth of versionings as well. So as day 31 of versioning happens, day 1 drops off. So we're going to sign Rain up for a basic service plan because we're going to install this on his workstation. One thing that I'd like to do with naming the account is because this is not Rain's account, it's Rain's computer account. So I typically like to organize it here, and you can kind of see in the background, do it by company name dot machine name. Because when you're looking in the web portal here and you're seeing that something's wrong, and you see an email address, that might not tell you what machine it is. But if you see here, Epic Dental-Acronis, I know that's the Acronis BDR that I deployed at that dental lab just a year ago. So we're going to go ahead here and say Curtis, just INSD dot, we'll just call it back office computer. We'll just call it back office. Now I can assign a password here and make it permanent. It's up to you whether you allow your customers to have these usernames and passwords. We have partners that allow their customers to log in using these credentials into the web portal, and they'll only see their accounts that is associated with them. They won't see all of your other customers. If they log in with this, they're only going to see their account. And we have some partners that never tell them what the usernames and passwords are. Descriptions, if you're going to let your customers log in, then you can put positive descriptions or who it is or what machine it is here. And then the internal descriptions are things that only your staff and then like eFolder can see. So if you want to note something like, hey, this is our A-list customer, handle them with care. They're really good to us. We want to take care of them. You could put those kind of notes in here. Hard quota and user quota. This is the hard quota is a quota that you place on them. So depending on how you decide you're going to sell the file and folder service, if you're going to sell it in blocks of, drive space, like, or cloud space, like a blocks of 100 gigabytes, or you're going to charge them for whatever they're using and bill them until they bleed, it's up to you. But if you're selling it in blocks of gigabytes, you could put a hard stop of a quota in here, like at 100, and the backups will just stop at 100 gigabytes, and they won't be able to upload anymore. The user quota is what is if somebody does log in using these credentials, they can put a quota on themselves. Normally, I don't think we've ever had that happen in the history of eFolder, so it's not really anything to worry about, but whatever is smaller wins. Even though I'm giving them infinity and they put 10 gig here, the backups are going to stop at 10 gig because that's what the user wants. So we're going to click Finish here. We'll see the Curtis Industry accounts pop in here, and the Curtis INSD.backoffice accounts be created, and the service plan here, no quota. So we're ready to now go to the machine and deploy the backup agent. Now, since everything is brandable, if you download the Backup Manager from your branded web portal, you can come into here and go download software. You can choose the version of Windows that they're running. We have graphical user interface for Windows 64-bit and 32-bit. We do have Linux agents and a Mac agent. So if you have customers running those platforms that need file and folder, by all means, you can do it. However, these three are command line only. We've got instructions on how to do it. It's a text version wizard of how to select your files and everything. It's fairly easy, but just be aware that these are command line only. And then you must agree that you're not going to give it to the horrible bad people of the world or what have you, and then download the software. Now I've got a virtual machine here that we're going to pop to. I've already downloaded the software, so let's go ahead and set this up really quick. So we'll just go ahead and run the installer. The installer runs fairly quickly here. And again, you can see setup-advise1 backup. This is my branded version. If you go to eFolder.net and not log in, you're going to get the unbranded version of your software. You can see that it's installing in my own directory inside of program files on the computer. So this does look like it is my software, and that's the beauty of the white labeling of eFolder. So this is saying that this was actually unexpected. This is a brand new install of a VM, so it's saying that I need a little bit of an update here. So we're going to download that. It should only take a second. You never know what you're going to get in a live demo. I love that. So while this is finishing here, what we're going to do here is in My Documents, I have all of these folders here because this is his computer. We want to be able to back these up to the eFolder cloud for the off-site protection of them. So we'll be selecting them here in just a moment. So we're going to launch the Advise Tech Data Protection software here. Okay, so this looks a little bit different than Ted's screenshot simply because this is the branded version. So the first thing that I need to do is go grab the username, and I'm just going to copy and paste here just to save time because I typed it funny. I realized that after I did it, but we're just going to go grab this username here. And let me go full screen again. So we're going to put what we created in the portal, put in the password, and we're going to test the connection. Now, before I click Test Connection, there are 3 different locations our file and folder can back up to. The remote server will always be the eFolder cloud, but if you wanted to perform local backups, like a local server or like a local disk physically attached, we can do that as well. But I'm going to test the connection to make sure that my user credentials are valid, so it's going to go out and talk to the web portal. Yep, we've got a valid account so we can move forward. Now, Ted talked about user-owned encryption keys, and we're HIPAA compliant. Any data that's going to come from the Backup Manager software here and go to the eFolder cloud has to be encrypted, okay? So you own the encryption keys. We cannot see it. We can't change it. We can't, decrypt your data. so that makes us HIPAA compliant. So let's type in a passphrase. This is going to be the key to encrypt my data. So we want something that's kind of like a phrase or whatever that's strong. We recommend getting up over 100 bits in the encryption level. You could use 5 characters. It's up to you. You can use the same encryption key on every single computer, on every single customer across, or individually for every single computer. We're not the encryption key police, but we definitely recommend good practices on that. So another thing that I'm going to do here is I've opted to securely store the passphrase in case it's forgotten, because if you don't have the passphrase, and let's say you get a new machine, you want to download the data from the cloud because your last one was stolen, if you don't have the passphrase, you can't get your data. So what we're going to do is we're going to store this. This wants me to print it. I'm not going to print it, and then we'll move on to creating the questions that we will be able to answer to get our passphrase back. So whoever's going to know the answers to the questions, you're going to put that there. And then there's a list of predetermined questions here, or I can make up my own. We need at least 3. Let me just go grab 3 just questions really quick. And then I don't have to type a date in here. I could type my real birth date. I could type a fake date. But if I use text or words or numbers and slashes, I have to follow the same pattern no matter what. So, and then my driver's license number, we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that's my driver's license number. So you can all steal my identity. So we need at least a minimum of 3, and all of the character count here needs to add up at least to 15 characters. So based on the questions and the answers, we are going to take your encryption key here that I typed here and encrypt it with that information and store that in our cloud. I'm going to go ahead and tell this to, it's asking to verify it. We'll go ahead and tell it to proceed. It'll ask me, do I want to save the passphrase to a file? I'm not going to do that right now. It's recommended that you save it to a file on a thumb drive, put it in a vault where, you know, a KeyPass type program. So now that we've got our connection set up, our account, our encryption, now literally it just takes a few minutes to go grab some files, even just a few seconds. You can click Add Folder. That's fine and dandy, but there's this awesome visualize tool here that I'll maximize. So now I can see the entire tree structure of the machine, but I can quickly dive right into what it is that I want to back up. So I'll just go ahead and say I want to back up everything in my documents. You can see here I got a little bit of data. Let's say that I have this, I thought I had, yeah, here's a WAV file, a recording. So I can uncheck this right here and say I don't want this type of a recording. Maybe it's an MP3 or an MP4. You have a policy you're not going to upload that kind of data to the cloud. So I can exclude this from this folder, this particular file from this folder, or in any folder, or a .wav in this folder, or a .wav in any folder. So I'm going to tell it, I don't want any audio files going to the cloud. So you can see here automatically I unchecked one, and it's already applying that policy or rule to the other files here. So we're just going to grab this data very quickly, hit save. And now these 3 destinations, they match up with the destinations I showed you here. Let me click save here so I can go there. The remote server, local disk, and remote server, local server, and local disk. I can choose to send them to those 3 different destinations. If they're not set up, if it says optional, you're not going to error out if they're checked. Okay. So let's go set up the schedule. Let's say I want these backups to go ahead and start at 12 a.m. and run 2 times or every 2 hours. So this means starting at 12 a.m. I'm going to run these backups 12 times a day basically. I have the option of don't back up during business hours or cancel during business hours, and then I have an option here where to set my business hours as well. So, and then notice here it says remote backup. There would be 2 other tabs here if these destinations in here were set up, and I could alternate at what time those back up depending on the destination. Let's go look at one, something that's really important here. 2 things important is the versioning control. I created a basic plan And the software will do a default of 365, but we know with the basic it's really 30. So I could come in here and be, I guess, clean house and really put 30 in here, but the system's going to default to 30 no matter what because it's a basic account. So I'm going to keep historical versions for 30 days. And then if data happens to be deleted that I was backing up, I want to also maybe clean that out, number of days to keep deleted files that were backed up but now are deleted. I can keep them for like 30 days as well. The bandwidth and control here, this is where I can choose my customers' hours, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then I can choose during the off-mode hours. I can choose what kind of pipe I want them to have, so I'll max it out when nobody's there. And during the day, maybe because it's Curtis Industries, they're a CAD, they're doing a lot of 3D CAD files, so they're sending a lot of data, to their contractors, to builders via email. So they have like a 5 megabit pipe. I think I'll allocate like 1,000 megabit here for this one, and then if I choose to do high during the evenings or something like that, maybe I'll do a 2.5 megabit here. So I can control not only just the profile, but also the bandwidth speed of the profile and their hours. This is really, really robust. Let me go ahead and save this. It just wants the account password because I'm changing the advanced settings here. One last thing that I wanted to show here that I forgot to show was I went in and I told it that I didn't want it to back up WAV files. You can come in here and edit the policy, and those check marks, those really simple check marks that I did, started to kind of program the policy for me. And there's a really robust policy engine where you can exclude or include files based on date or by size or what have you. So check those out as well. That's really all there is to it, to come in and select some files and set the schedule and set the bandwidth and the versioning control. A couple of last notes here to be aware of to get data back from the cloud. Maybe like Ted said, you get hit by a CryptoLocker virus and you want to get some of the data back from the cloud. You can go to the File Manager account, put in the username and password, and then restore data from the cloud. Now, I don't have any data because I haven't done a backup yet, but that data would be here. I would be able to select it and then choose a version close to the date that I want it. It's really very simple. Again, we have videos on how to do all of this kind of stuff, and as you sign on and become a partner, you go through an onboarding process and are trained as that as well. One last tab here to show, and then I'll be quiet here and turn it back over to Ted, is under System Status, there's actually a pretty robust reporting tool that's on the agent level here, where I can report a backup or summary or a details or what have you report I can choose for the last week or a couple of weeks or a month or 2 years or maximum, and pretty much get a list of every single file that's been backed up, when it was last backed up, the last time it was modified, and everything. Some really robust reports. Now, with that said, those same reports are available from the web portal as well. I would be able to right mouse click, come down to reports, and view online backup session reports and pull some of that stuff right here. I was on the phone with a partner, I think last week, that was talking about they want to be able to send kind of like a monthly report to their customers, and they didn't want to touch every single workstation. I'm like, well, just come in, right mouse click on the account, come down to the reports and run it, and then they can put their signature at the bottom and send it off in an email. There's a lot more I could show, a lot more I could dive into, but I think, Ted, I've gone over my allotted 10 minutes, so I'm going to throw it back over to you.
Okay, well, I do want to invite questions. So Dave, don't give me the ball back yet in case there's something in the UI you want to show.
Oh, sure.
But let's tackle a couple questions that have come in. At least Tom and Barry have questions here. So Barry wants to know, can you access the data from anywhere else, or does it have to be restored to be accessible?
That's a great question. There's a couple of ways that you can access the data. There's web access here. So maybe you have a client that has gone on a business trip. They have maybe destroyed their laptop or lost it or it was stolen. They can do the online access, and it will launch a web portal. It uses a very stringent ActiveX control. You've got to go in and put in trusted sites. It's kind of a pain. What I recommend is using the downloadable client. This doesn't install. It's just an executable that you can download, run on a machine, and literally just pull your files back. You need the account name, like we typed in, this username here, and then the password. And also, because you're not going to be on the machine that has the authenticated backup manager with the passphrase already, they're going to need the passphrase to be able to download this. So yes, it is available through the downloadable client. And when you launch the downloadable client and you go to the control panel in the program and you launch the file manager, it literally is this same program. So if you got somebody that's international on a trip, they're panicking, you can launch this on your machine. Just click File Manager. It's the same tool that they're going to be running on their end, and you can walk them through getting their data back to them. And that's the easiest way. I think using the ActiveX control is great, but you got to be an IE, trusted sites, and just getting it set up to where you can use it. It's just faster to download the runnable client here. Okay, great. So a lot of questions are coming rolling in.
Nerino asks, is local disk backup, does it have to be on the server or a network drive, i.e. a NAS?
It can be a network drive or a NAS device. That is configurable here in your folder when you go to visualize. If you have a mapped drive, mapped drives will show up here, and you can click to navigate to any kind of folder and basically drive out to a NAS device as well.
Okay. And then Joby wants to know, is there a way to export all client backup configs, i.e. which folders are being backed up on each computer?
Yes. Yes, there is. And let me show this in twofold. I'll answer that question first. If you come up, once you get it all configured, you can come up to File and export a profile. And by exporting the profile, I'm saving the settings that were on this machine, and I could use them to, restore them if you had to go to a new machine. So that's one way. And then another important thing here too is if you want to apply like a default backup policy, something that you develop in-house, you come in here on your machine and you say, okay, here's our policy that we want to apply to everybody. You can come in and let me move this over here. You can save a policy and also open and create new policy from a file. So if you have an SLA or an agreement in your contract that you're not going to ever back up certain file types and different things like that, that's easily applicable as well. And that's different than the profile information that I showed you here, but it kind of coincides with that.
Okay.
And Ted, let me indulge here for a minute. I'm going to launch the backup manager that's actually running on my laptop rather than in the VM. And you can see here under File, I have multiple profiles. So I'm running the backup manager software, backing up all of my project files, the video files that we do for the e-learning stuff that I do. But I'm also using this to pick up my Shadow Protect data and back it up to the eFolder cloud. So if this was like a small business server, and I wanted to use a select account to back up Exchange and SQL because I need a select account to do that, but I want to back up the user shares and all the user files and everything with a basic account, I can run multiple profiles with different backup configs and different types of accounts too. I know that probably will open up a whole bunch of questions there, but the idea is it's flexible. I can run more than one profile, more than one type of backup on the same machine.
Okay, let me just, there's a couple more questions. I just want to let everyone know that we will make copies of the slides and copies and access to the recording available as a follow-up after today's event. So there are a couple of people asked about that. Tom wants to know, what's the minimum realistic bandwidth for backups? Is a Wi-Fi on a laptop or a laptop on a Wi-Fi connection, is that doable?
Well, I would say yes, because your bottleneck is going to be your ISP, not the bandwidth of your Wi-Fi. Unless you're on a a Class B Wi-Fi, your ISP is always going to be slower than your Wi-Fi network, so it should be fine. I run all the time. I'm on the road traveling and with my laptop on a hotel connection, and I'm able to back up via Wi-Fi with a hotel connection as well. We don't throttle any bandwidth in or out of our data center, so if you've got a customer on a gigabit pipe and you can upload at a gigabit, we can receive at a gigabit, but for the Wi-Fi, yeah, I have it on my wife's laptop, my kids' laptop, and I'm backing up files and stuff like that, and it runs fine over for Wi-Fi because I'm running an N network, that's running at 300 megabit.
Okay. MJ wants to know, do you have any recommended remote installation methods, or do you recommend installing by being on the actual machine?
We do have some command line interface scripts that there is CLI to this. So if you wanted to run a script on a machine that would then, go get the profile and put it in and everything, if you've got a lot of machines that you want to deploy this, that's worth doing. But easily if you've got a customer with 5 machines you want to back up, it's just easy enough to just either remote desktop in and install the agent, select the files, away you go. This is integratable, like Ted said, within the slides. There are some RMM tools that you can integrate with this and have the RMM push down the agent as well.
Okay. Let's see. I think we covered this, but let me just ask it again. I mean, the client's using a Western Digital MX4000 for backups internally. Can that be backed up to your cloud?
As long as that's, viewable, I guess that's a NAS device. I didn't catch the full model number there. If it's a NAS or if it's physically attached, you can add it as a destination that you want to back up, or a source, sorry, not a destination, as a source, and then send that to the cloud.
Okay. Let's see here. So Barry wants to know, does this interface at all with the Anchor backup service?
That's a good question, Barry. It doesn't. They are two separate, completely different technologies. Even though the Anchor file folder sync does have a backup component, they are completely written different. In fact, this is a much more robust backup engine with policies and the ability to back up open files, where Anchor, you're not going to use Anchor to back up your Exchange server and different things like that. You would with this. So the web portals are separate and the agents are separate.
Okay. And then just a couple last questions here. Is there a file size limit?
I haven't hit one, and I've uploaded 10 to 20, 30 gig size files. I've actually uploaded hundreds of gigs of files with base images from Shadow Protect. I do not believe there is a file size limit. I know that we are taking full images with Shadow Protect and backing up that Shadow Protect full image at several hundred gigs to a terabyte and backing that up to our cloud.
Okay, and then let's see here. So Ming wants to know, do we have a search? Do we have an index search utility available? For example, search for file that contains the words eFolder. I guess of the backed up data, I guess is the question. Kind
of a context indexed search engine. And the answer to that is no. The data is not cataloged when it's in our cloud, simply because you encrypt it on your end, send it to our cloud encrypted. So we do not have the ability to decrypt it, catalog it, and tell you what's in the files and where what those files are. We can't even identify the files. However, you can come into the restore data. I switched. Oh, hold on. Let me switch a different profile here to my file and folder account and start this over 1 second. So with this, when I go to restore data, let's say that I want this particular project here. As soon as I can learn how to click a plus button here. Let's say I want this Acronis project back because something's corrupted in it. I can come in and click next. I can choose to store it within the same place or restore it to another. But then I could get it to version control and choose a date range or something that matches closest to a date, but I can't like open up the files and go look in them and see what's in there.
Okay. Well, Dave, with this, at that, why don't you hand the ball back to me, and we'll wrap up here with a couple just pricing topics, or maybe let me see if I can do that. Let me just go ahead. I think I can.
I'm already on it here, so okay. It's coming to you.
Show my screen. Okay. Okay. Let me just get my bearings here. Okay. Yeah, just to review kind of some final topics. You know, our go-to-market model is to partner with MSPs and VARs, and on this particular product line, the way we price it is price per gig. So the basic service, and it's a tiered pricing, so your first 2 terabytes of data will be 39 cents a gig, and then the next 3 terabytes would be 35 cents a gig, and then above 5 terabytes of total data, all of the storage costs would be 30 cents a gig. That's for basic. And then and for select, kind of similar model, and the prices are more expensive because, as Dave reviewed, you know, this is the server class product with unlimited versioning, and so the prices start at 79 cents a gig and go down to 50 cents a gig. And all you need to do is to get started is to make a minimum commitment to eFolder of a minimum of $100 wholesale a month to get started. If you are interested, you know, if Dave wowed you with his demo, which I think he did, hopefully, you know, you can do a trial today, a free trial for checking this out, and we will be sending you instructions on how to do that as a follow-up to today's webinar. And we will also, our sales team and systems engineers will be available for follow-up partner questions in the next couple days. As you know, you have questions that come up. Let me just look at the Q&A log one last time. Okay. So Dave, just a quick technical question. Scott wants to know, does BASIC, does it not do local backups?
No, it does. It does do local backups. Both Select and BASIC will do local backups. You just come into the My Account panel here, and you will configure where you want to store that data locally, either like a qualified UNC path or an IP address on your network, or something that's physically attached that you can browse out to.
Okay. Scott had a follow-on question just around, let's see, let me go back to the pricing real quick. So Scott has a follow-on question on how local backup pricing. So there's an additional charge of $12.50 for Select. No, I mean, Dave, help me here with this.
Sure.
What the detail is on the you know, local backups are free unless they exceed what?
So yeah, there's a really easy formula. For every gigabyte of data you store in our cloud, you get 5 gigs of local backup at no cost. So as long as you're storing, you know, for every gig, it's a 1-to-5 ratio. So you're storing 10 gigs with us in our cloud. You have free reign of storing about 50 gigs worth of data locally, you know, backing that up locally. If you exceed that, if you go over that 1-to-5, you know, if you're now 10 gigs and you're now at 52 gigs instead of 50, then there is a kind of a monthly service charge for using the software. And for servers, it's the $12.50 a month. And for desktops, it's $2.50 a month.
Gotcha. Scott, I think that answers your question. Okay. Let's see here. Dave, I guess, you know, a question Link just asked a little bit about BDR for Acronis. I mean, why don't you give kind of the high-level, you know, distinction between eFolder backup for files and our BDR solutions?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The great thing about backup for files is it's easy to deploy. It fits the customer's models that, they don't want to spend a lot of money on, appliances and image-based backup, and you could pretty much deploy it anywhere very, very quickly, as you just saw. The image-based or the backup disaster recovery products that we have with Shadow Protect and Acronis, plus a data destination for your Aperture data, those are image-based backups. So as an MSP, those kind of tools are actually part of your lifeblood. If you're protecting a customer's data, or customer server, 2012 R2, whatever, and that thing goes down and you're on the hook to bring that up as fast as possible using image-based technology like Shadow Protect and Acronis gives you the ability to restore that or recover that to a BDR, a backup disaster recovery appliance, virtualize it within minutes, or do bare metal backup or bare metal recovery to dissimilar hardware, physical or virtual. Or if you have a complete site-wide failure, like the building burned down or something to that effect, then with that image-based backup and sending that to our cloud, you have the ability to recover your customer's infrastructure within our cloud using our continuity cloud node that Ted talked about at the beginning of the session. And that's an on-demand physical BDR in our cloud that you call us up at 2 o'clock in the morning because your client's building burnt down, you want to have it up and running by the time workers are supposed to log in. You call us up within an hour, you have a remote desktop access to a physical node in our cloud. You're downloading the images and virtualizing them in our data center. We've got some really great success stories around this type of technology with the Joplin the tornadoes that just happened. There's a video on our YouTube channel. We've got, when Sandy hit the East Coast a couple years ago, we had people running in our cloud for like a month. And it's not because they lost their building or they lost their infrastructure. They just didn't have power too. So image-based backup really for an MSP is where it's I think one of your 3 core tools. You're going to be using some kind of a PSA, some kind of RMM, and then you're going to be protecting those servers and desktops with some kind of image-based backup so you can restore that business continuity as quickly as possible. I hope that answered that, Ted.
Yep, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So with that, I think it took you about just 10 minutes to actually get that account set up, Dave, and you gave a lot of contextual discussion and description around it. So that was great. We've answered a ton of questions. I want to thank everybody for making time on today's eFolder Expert Series webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on one of the next ones. Dave, thanks a lot for your contributions today.
My pleasure. Thanks.
This is Ted Hulsy with eFolder signing off. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. Take care.